So today we went to Hastings Reef. This reef is about 7 kilometres long, and the first site we went to was called Stepping Stones, and the second one was called Split Bommy. Did you guys see a difference between the first site and the second site? Yeah. And imagine the diversity of the rest of the Great Barrier Reef. So we have around 3,000 different islands and 3,000 different reefs and 600 different islands in the Great Barrier Reef. Yeah, and when you combine them all together, it is the similar size to, is anyone from Japan? No? Italy? Yes, similar size to Italy. Germany? Yeah, similar size to Germany. Malaysia? No. New Zealand? It's a bit smaller than New Zealand. Anyone from Australia? Alright, I'm the only one from Australia today. Well, it's a similar size to Tasmania and Victoria if you combine it. So the reef is humongous. That's what we're trying to get at. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Area, meaning it has significant educational, scientific and cultural values. Yeah? And in Cairns, we're fortunate enough to have 2 World Heritage Areas. The first one is obviously the Great Barrier Reef. Does anyone want to guess what the second one might be? Yeah, the Daintree Rainforest, also known as the wet tropics of far north Queensland. So if you haven't been there yet, I highly recommend you go visit. David Attenborough's favourite place in the whole wide world apparently, so definitely check it out. So where we currently are now, it used to be land, but then the Great Flood happened and the reefs began to form. So the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, they used to be able to walk out to here, yeah? And with these continental shelf and these shallow areas, it created the perfect environment for the reef to grow. And the nutrients from the Daintree Rainforest also helped encourage the reef. So there are 70 different Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander mobs on the Great Barrier Reef. And they have been around a lot longer than when the reef was actually here. So the reef is believed to be here for 12,000 years, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, they've been here for over 60,000 years. Yeah, so their cultural practices, we're actually still learning about them in the Western world. And these red areas here are where the traditional owners are working with the Australian government to try and teach and help us bridge that gap of knowledge, which is really, really exciting. So that yellow dot, that is us. What do you think those other red dots are? Other reefs, yeah. They're the other reefs in the world. So in the entire ocean, less than 1% is made up of coral reef systems, but within that 1%, 25% of marine life diversity lives. Yeah, it's pretty insane. Did you guys see a lot of life out there today? Yeah, it's beautiful, right? Yeah, but when you think about it, they're either trying to eat each other or take up each other's space. Yeah, it's very competitive out there. So we're going to talk about coral first. So the first coral is our soft coral. Yeah, so did you see the ones moving in the water? Yeah, and that's also a soft coral. Then we have our hard corals, just these ones here. We're going to talk about our hard corals. So did you see this one in the water today? Yeah. What do you think it's called? Yeah, brain coral. Marine biologists aren't very creative, so if it looks like it, it has probably named it. So this is a part of the massive family. It grows about 1 centimetre a year, so very slow growing. But they are the building blocks of the reef. And then we have these guys. Any guesses what it's called? Tree, branch, yeah. Branch, yeah, branching coral is a common name, or staghorn coral, like the horns of a stag. So these guys are very fast growing. Yeah, they grow about 30 centimetres a year, but they're very fragile. So you find them a lot deeper due to the waves not being able to break them. So was anyone expecting the colours to be a little bit more vibrant out on the reef today? All pretty, yeah, a couple nods, couple shakes. Yeah, so one thing I would like to share is that 80% of the coral's population, their colours are naturally brown, autumn, beige, even yellow colours. That's the coral's normal colour. It's very rare to see those intense blues, pinks and purples. But then how we perceive those colours is very different because we're looking in the water. And water is a lot more denser than air. So as light travels through, that light gets refracted really easily. And the first colour to go is red. So as you can see here, these pen caps were taken down to 10 metres. And those are the same pen caps, but now we're looking at the colours very differently. Another example, this blue staghorn, we took a photo with a flash and found out that it was pink. Yeah, so how we see those colours in the water might not actually be what their actual colour is. And then another example, does this kind of look like what you saw today? Yeah? Well, I then edited the photo to look like this. Yeah, and I'm sure those big film crews, they know how to edit a video or two. And they also have a big film crew behind them with big flashlights, which can capture that colour the coral can actually show. And then another example, just like that. Okay, what do we think this is? Close. It's related to anemone. This is actually coral, really zoomed in. Yeah, this is the coral polyp. So when I talk about coral, I'm assuming that you're thinking of this guy here. So this is what we would call a coral colony or an apartment building of coral because there's a lot in there. This is actually what coral is, an upside down jellyfish. Yeah? So we're going to do a little pop quiz. I want you to raise your hand if you think coral is made up of an animal. Yeah? Raise your hand if you think coral is made up of a plant. Yeah? Raise your hand if you think coral is made up of a mineral. Yeah? If you put your hand up, ding, 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 you guys are all correct. So coral is made up of plants, animals and minerals. And this is the animal on the screen. So this one polyp, there are millions of them inside of these colonies. They can range from a size of a grain of sand to the size of like a plate dish. Yeah, they can get big or small. And these tentacles help them feed. So they bring in food into their bellies, but they only feed at night. They're nocturnal. Yeah. And like I said, heaps of them. So all of those little holes are individual little polyps. And then another example here. But on the outside, that is their skeleton. So we have an internal skeleton, coral has an external skeleton. And that's how they grow. Their skeleton grows on the outside and then the polyp, that one polyp will clone itself and turn into another polyp, then turn into another polyp. And that's how coral grows. So these are the different types of reproduction. And then this is our polyp. So like I said, the tentacles bring in the food and that hard base is that mineral part. But where's the plant bit coming in? That's this big word at the top, zooxanthellae. Yeah, so this is a little internal algae. And these guys have a symbiotic relationship, meaning they work really well together. But they can't really live without one another. So do we all know photosynthesis? Yeah, amazing. High school taught us something. So with photosynthesis, it creates this energy that the polyp can then use as a food source. And the coral gets about 90% of its energy this way. The other 10% is with those tentacles. The other really cool thing about this algae is that it gives the coral its color. Yeah, so without the algae, it would look white. Yeah, and that brings us to coral bleaching. Have we all heard about coral bleaching before? Yeah, no? Couple nods, couple shakes. Does anyone here think bleached coral is dead coral? Yeah, couple nods, couple shakes. So one thing I would like for you to take away from today is that bleached coral is not dead coral. Yeah? Bleaching is when the coral is a little bit sick, or she's a little bit stressed out, or she's a little bit hungry. So what is coral bleaching? Coral bleaching is when that relationship between the polyp and the algae becomes toxic. And what do we do with toxic relationships in our life? We kick them out. Yeah? We say bye. So that's what the polyp is doing. This algae is starting to overproduce too much oxygen due to a drastic change in the environment. So the polyp kicks out the algae, it loses its colour, and it can only get energy and food through its tentacles, and it only does that at night. Yeah? This is a natural thing that occurs in the marine world. So this is the coral bleaching right here. But the coral can recover from this bleaching. This is an example of what a bleached reef looks like. So even these pink ones, that's hyperpigmentation. When the coral becomes fluoro, that's also a sign of stress. And then these white bits here. But like I said, it is a natural thing and coral can recover from it. It's kind of like when we have the flu. You know how we get a temperature, we shut down, we kick out the disease, and then we carry on? It's very similar. So in March, it is the hottest time of the year here. Yes, it gets hotter in Cairns. This isn't as hot as it gets. And as you can see, this colony is completely white. But in June, the temperature starts to cool, the colour gets reintroduced, and then September, all of that colour has come back. So this is a sign of a really resilient and healthy coral. And this is actually a coral we see quite frequently. It's at a site we visit. We were there today at Stepping Stones. It was right under the boat. And it doesn't look anything like this now. It's actually doubled in size. It toppled over from the last cyclone and now it's growing a whole new colony on top of it. Yeah, so when given the time, coral can regenerate in a really fascinating way. So has anyone heard the statements like the Great Barrier Reef is dying? Yeah, that gets thrown around. What about the reef is already dead? Sometimes that gets chucked around. You guys just saw that out there today. We didn't make that up, I promise. So let's tap into where all of these statements have been coming from. So in 2016, the world experienced a global mass bleaching event. So a mass bleaching event is when large areas of coral all bleach at the same time, and the destruction of a mass bleaching event is compared to the destruction of a Category 5 tropical cyclone, yeah, or hurricane if you're from further up. And when humans experience these bleaching events, we need time to recover, yeah? So does the coral. So in 2016, the world experienced this, and then in 2017, the reef experienced it again. So these black dots are where the bleaching events occurred, and yeah, we were pretty freaked out when this happened because we'd never recorded a back-to-back bleaching event before. But these were the recovery rates after 2017. So if you have a look up here, 67% of the corals that bleached died, and then around the Torres Strait Island, 26% died. But then if you have a look at the rest of the reef, only 6% of that bleached coral died. And we talked about how massive this reef is yet. So to say that the whole barrier reef is dying, in my opinion, is sending the wrong message. It's not hopeful. It's not allowing people to be like, oh no, we can try and help and protect the reef. And then this image here is meant to be a sign of hope. So image C is the reef at Lizard Island. So it's further north from here. And then this is the same spot, but in 2020. So as you can see here, coral is starting to regrow, and they actually aim, so this photo is off Australian Institute of Marine Science, they found that the average coral coverage has increased by 30.3% since 2020. So we were like, yay, this is good news. And then this happened. So in 2024, did you guys hear about the bleaching event on the reef? It was a very unique one. So where are the red dots? Yeah, they're more south. So this is the first time we've ever seen more bleaching occur in the south than in the north. They've brought out a report and it doesn't really give us much answers as to why this is, but they're speculating that maybe the northern corals are more resilient to heat, or in 2024 the north had a lot of rain, so this cloud coverage created a cooler environment for the corals. But I don't know, you can check out the report if you like. So what this graph is showing is that we are on a trajectory, this red line, to potentially lose 70 to 90% of our corals, because we're seeing these bleaching events occur a lot more frequently at a higher intensity, and it's not very good. But we do have the chance to stabilize. So how can we stabilize? Doing little things make a massive impact. So the Australian government put out this program, See the Reef, Love the Reef, Protect the Reef. So you guys all saw the reef today? Yes. If you put your face in the water or look out the window, I'm sure you saw it. I hope you guys love the reef as much as the crew love the reef. And normally when you love something, you want to protect it. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for coming out onto the reef today, because money from your ticket is going directly back into the conservation of the reef, which is incredible. And then sitting here learning more knowledge. Knowledge is power. So I'm sure people are going to be like, how was your trip to the reef? And you're going to be like, it was sick. I saw Nemo, and did you know bleached coral is not dead coral? You can like sprinkle that in there, yeah? But if you want to do some actions, here are some actions that you can do to help protect the reef. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, they see country, which is land, and sea country, which is the ocean, and us as being all connected. So what we do on country creates this ripple effect out into sea country. Personally, what I do, I just spend more time in nature. The more time you spend in nature, the more you will love it and the more you'll want to protect it. And then these little fishies, they prove that little things do matter. So did we find these fish in the water today? Yeah? Awesome. So these guys are all the same species. They're called butterfly fish. Do you see any similarities between them? Their face? Yeah, so they've got that long nose. That's to eat coral, so they suck up those little polyps. So these guys are reef health indicator species. So we actually count how many of these are on the reef, and it will determine how healthy the reef is. And you might notice that they're always in pairs of two, yeah, because they're life partners. Aww. Yeah, so you'll always see them, oh my god, floating around the reef together. And fish sometimes have these black dots on their tail. What do you think that's trying to mimic?
Eyes.
Yeah, it's eyes. So fish determine the size of one another by the size of their eyes. So if a predator's swimming around and he's like, oh, that's a big eye, so that must be a big fish, I'm not going to attack you. But then maybe it decides to attack. He thinks the head's at the bum end, and then he's attacking from the wrong end. Okay. Did you guys see this guy on the reef? If you didn't, I have a little video for you. This is the Great Barrier Reef anemone fish. This one is at one of our sites we visit quite frequently. This is a mum hanging out by herself, but about 6 months ago, she has a new little partner who's about this big, and that's going to be the mating male. So we're very excited to see what happens there. This is our pink anemone fish, and then our spine cheek anemone fish. So he literally has a spine sticking out of his cheek. I like to call him Emo Nemo. And then we have our true anemone fish, or clownfish, or Nemo, whatever you want to call him. Yeah? So have we all watched Finding Nemo? Yeah? If you haven't, sorry, I'm going to ruin the story for you. And if you have, we're going to make it a little less Disney. So a couple facts about anemone fish. Inside the school, there is one female, and she is large and in charge. The rest are just males doing her bidding. The next largest male is the mating male. So back to Nemo. We all know that Nemo's mum, she dies, yeah? And now we are left with Marlin and Nemo. So technically what should have happened is they should have realized that there was no more estrogen or female energy inside the school, and Marlin should have transitioned into Marlena. Yeah? And then we have little Nemo swimming around. He's like, what is going on? Technically what should have happened is Nemo should have started mating with his mum that used to be his dad. Yeah. So Disney really left that one out. But why can an enemy fish do this? They can do this because they are a hermaphroditic species, meaning that they can change their gender. And a lot of marine life can do this. It is a big ocean, so the likelihood of you finding your same species, very small, let alone of the opposite sex. So when they meet, one may transition to ensure that they can have babies. Okay, did we see this on the reef today? Yeah, what's it called? Parrotfish, yes. So our parrotfish, if you didn't see one, get your eyes checked because they're everywhere. That better? Yeah, cool. So they're swimming around the reef, always eating. They've got this big beak to scrape off all the algae from the reef wall. Did anyone hear them? Yeah, you can hear the crunch, crunch, crunch. We call that the sounds of the reef. That's how other fish can find the reef when they're in the deep blue ocean. But did anyone see this guy poo? Yeah. Yeah? Awesome. If you didn't, I have a video for you. Ready? Cool? What do you think that is, other than poo? Sand, yeah. So all of that beautiful white sand that you saw out on the reef today, that's come outside of a parrotfish, yeah? Not only parrotfish, but all of our herbivores. So our herbivores are eating all of the algae off of the reef to try and help keep our reef as a coral-dominated ecosystem. Then we have our bumphead parrotfish. So these guys get massive. Super friendly. They hang out in schools of about 20 to 30, even 50 sometimes. But they not only eat algae, they also eat the coral's algae, that algae that lives inside of it. So that is a lot of minerals. And they actually poo around 1.2 tons of sand a year. Yeah, I know. How is that possible? Okay, this is not working. All right. So, oh my God. Hello. Is it better just speaking? Yeah? Okay. Is that okay? Okay. Yeah, so the bumphead parrotfish, like I said, they poo a lot. So if you ever sit on a beach in Cairns, I want you to tap it and say, thanks, parrotfish, because easily 1/3 of that has come from the reef and it is parrotfish poo. All right, we have our giant clams. So who saw a giant clam today? Yeah? How big was it? Yeah, they are humongous. They can get to around 200 years old, but they are filter feeders, yeah? So they are filtering the water, making sure it is nice and healthy. But a really cool thing about our clams is this color in the middle. That is from that zooxanthellae algae. And these blue dots are the clam's eyes. Yeah, technically light receptors, but they were the first evolved sensing thing. So whenever something goes over the clam, it creates a shadow, and then that shadow normally means, oh, I need to close up to protect myself, yeah? Or it represents nighttime. When the clam moves a lot, sand can get stuck inside of it, and when that happens, it can be itchy for the clam, so they try to smooth it out, and they smooth it out with mucus, which then turns into a pearl, yeah? So the largest pearl found in a giant clam was 34 kilos. Wow. Yeah, imagine trying to wear that. When they removed the pearl, they accidentally killed the clam. The fisherman was really upset. He didn't sell it, like he just kept it because he felt so bad. But they found out that that clam was 150 years old. Yeah. All right, so anyone see this today? Yeah, this is the Murray wrasse. So he's got this big hump. This helps him stay buoyant because he's got a really big mouth. If you ever see him eat, his mouth comes out, engulfs, and then closes. But these guys are called Murray wrasse due to the tribal markings on their face, which is called the tamuku in the Māori culture, and they are seen as the protectors of the reef because they spend their whole life cycle on the Great Barrier Reef, whereas some other fish start in the mangroves and make their way to the reef. This is the female. I actually saw a female today and she was in the middle of transitioning. What does that mean? It means she was going from female to male. So once they hit around 10 to 13 years old, they will then start to transition, which is pretty cool. All right, what do you think this is? Close, it's shark poo. Nah, I'm joking. It is a sea cucumber, yeah? Specifically a black sea cucumber. And this is our pineapple sea cucumber. So they are the filter feeders. Not filter feeders, they eat all the dead and decaying matter, eating all that stuff that is in the sand to help the sand stay nice and white. In some cultures, it's actually a delicacy to eat the sea cucumbers. To me, is crazy. Because when I think about them, I think about all the gross facts I know about them. So yeah. All right. Then we have our feather stars. Did anyone see this guy in the water? It kind of looks like a fern attached to the reef. A lot of people think it's a plant, but it's actually an animal. It's related to our starfish. It's related to our sea cucumber. And their fossils date back 300 million years before the dinosaurs. Yeah, so it's pretty insane. Yeah, awesome. Then we have our turtles. Anyone lucky enough to see a turtle today? I don't know where they've been. It's been like a couple days since seeing a turtle. Maybe they're out. They wouldn't be finding a mate. It's not mating time. Anyway, with our turtles, this one's a green sea turtle, but on the Great Barrier Reef, we have 6 of the 7 species in the world here, which is awesome. And yeah, has anyone seen a turtle before? Yeah, nice. Do you know what type it was? Did it look like this?
I don't know if it's in Miami.
In Miami? Maybe olive red, was it olive? It was a turtle. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, well, all of our turtles are currently threatened with extinction, so whenever you see one, it is great. This is our turtles mating. I know, yeah. So there is one female in this image, and it's the one at the front. Yeah, so all of these males, it's pretty fascinating. The female can store the sperm of every single male in that image. Yeah, so she has a lot of eggs that she needs fertilized, and once her eggs are ready to fall out, she goes back to the beach where she was born. Yeah, the exact same spot. And when this happens, she will climb on up the sand, dig a little nest, lay her eggs. They literally just fall out of her, like she can't control the timing of it. So when it's ready, they're ready. And yeah, the temperature of the nest will determine the gender of the hatchlings. So the warmer it is, the more females, the cooler it is, the more males. So hot chicks, cool dudes is a good way to remember that. But once one hatchling hatches, they all start to hatch because there is power in numbers, yeah? And has anyone seen this in person before? Lucky.
My best friend, she's a marine biologist.
Oh yeah. Oh, cool. She was working with them.
Yeah, she was part of the sea turtle conservation program. So
Yeah.
she would take them in and take them back out when they're ready to
Oh,
hatch.
so cool. So you don't have to be a part of a conservation project to see this. You can walk along most beaches, especially in Australia, and at night, if it's hatchling season, you will see them just come out of the sand and run. If you do see it, take a video, but please don't use your flash. The flash can confuse the hatchlings, because how they find the ocean is they use the moon, and the moon's very bright, so that's what they go towards. And don't touch them, because they need to struggle. Even if they look like they're struggling, they need to. It gets the blood pumping through their body, just like a butterfly, yeah? Oh, wait, before that image. So like I said, the mum lays a lot of eggs, and turtles reach adulthood at around 30 years old, depending on the species. Out of 1,000 baby turtles, how many do you think make it to adulthood? 20? Any other guesses?
2%.
2%, 1%, I wish. It is 1 out of 1,000. Yeah, and that's the natural survival rate. That's not with any human impact at all. You thought they'd evolve a little bit more, but they're just like, nah, set in their ways. So this is the inside of the turtle's mouth, yeah? Or throat. This is their throat. Yeah, they're so cute. And then you see this, yeah? So turtles love to eat jellyfish. They each have specific diets, but they all eat jellyfish. And when they eat the jellyfish, they swallow a lot of salt water. And I'm sure you swallowed a bit of salt water today. It's not very nice, yeah? So the turtles spit it out. They spit out that salt water, but they want to hold their food in place. And how they do that is with those spikes. But what do you think looks like a jellyfish if you have bad vision?
Like a plastic bag.
Yeah, plastic. So turtles don't have the best vision. And you think plastic's going to get stuck in that throat? Yeah, and then they can't spit it back out. So when this happens, the turtles get air trapped inside of their bellies, and then they start to float. And when turtles float, they can't go around and feed or protect themselves. So it's really sad. So whenever we see a turtle that is floating at the surface, we call the Cairns Turtle Rehab Centre. Yeah, we're like, hey, there's a turtle here, and then they let us know we have a permit to bring them on the boat, or they send out a helicopter or a boat to pick up the turtle. So if you really want to see a turtle, I can 200% guarantee you will see one if you visit the rehab centre. And all the money goes to the turtles. It's run by volunteers. Jenny, this lady here, and Paul, that guy over there, they started it in 2000, and since then I believe they've managed to release 500 turtles. Yeah, which is awesome. They have a 95% release and recovery rate, so it's the highest in Australia. Yeah, so definitely a good company to support. We were fortunate enough to actually release 2 turtles off of Passions a year ago. Their names are Dancer and Prancer. Why? Because they were found in someone's swimming pool on Christmas Day. Yeah. So they were found as little hatchlings because they actually went to the big bright light, which was actually someone's house decorated in Christmas lights. They thought that was the moon. So yeah, our turtles, you'll see that they have a tracking device on their shell. So that tracking device is just glued on there. It actually falls off after 9 months because turtles shed their shell. Yeah, and these tracking devices are very expensive, but it helps us learn if the conservation efforts are actually worth it, because rehabilitation is very expensive, very timely. But we've learned so much about the turtles, like their breeding areas, where they like to eat, and also how they navigate and travel. And turtles travel long distances. It is pretty insane to see. Anyone see a shark today? I saw one and I didn't tell you, sorry. Yeah, I saw a shark. You guys saw a shark. They actually saw a really cool shark. It was a tawny nurse shark, I believe. They get very big, but they're known as puppy dogs. In the Maldives, I think you can swim with them. Yeah? Anyway, here at on the reef, we normally see little sharks. and they are our reef sharks. So our white tip and our black tip are very common, and then our grey reefy at the bottom. But my favourite one is this epaulet shark. So this epaulet shark, it's about this big. He's brown, he's got nice spots on them, kind of looks like a leopard. But the fascinating thing about this guy is you see those front little flippers? He uses those to walk on land. Yeah. So is anyone here love sharks? Yay. Anyone here kind of scared of sharks? Yeah. That's all right. I'm glad more hands went up for love than scared. That's a good sign. So with our epaulet shark, the reef, sometimes when the tide gets really low, fish get trapped up at the surface. And like I said, this shark, he walks on land to try and find him. And as he walks on land, he can hold his breath for about 20 minutes. Yeah, so it's pretty fascinating. So all the people kind of scared of sharks or didn't put their hand up, the shark walks on land and they're coming for you. Yeah. At Passions, we love our sharks. At the moment, there's a movement to try and help people change their perception on sharks, because I'm sure when you think of a shark, you think of Jaws. Yeah. But back in the day, I don't know if you know, whales, humans used to be scared of whales and think of Moby Dick. But now we've changed the script and everyone's like, oh, I love whales. It's got a calf and a mum and they're traveling, yeah? So now they're trying to flip the script with sharks. And how do we do that? It's a long journey. But yeah, I hope if you did see a shark today or just learning from this chat that maybe you're just not as inclined to be like, shark. Yeah, so a couple little facts I want to share with you about the sharks is that they are apex predators, but without them we wouldn't have the beautiful ecosystem that we have out on the reef. They ensure that there's no disease or sickness that is being spread, and they also have really cool senses. Like obviously our epaulet shark, he can hold his breath, but most of the other sharks, they have these sensors at the front of their near their mouth, which they use to detect things. And with our sharks, we are currently killing them at a rate of 300 million per year. Yeah, 5 years ago, the number was 150 million. So it has doubled in 5 years, which is really scary. And if you guys want to support the sharks, I get you've spent plenty of money already, but this might be an excuse to buy something at the bar. 10% of our profits go directly to the Shark Conservation Society. And if you want to support the sharks directly, we sell these black t-shirts that Monica's wearing. Show us the back of your t-shirt, Monica. It's got a picture of the boat on the back, and on the side of the sleeve it says, I saved a shark. The shirts are $30 and $25 goes to the sharks. If you don't want to spend money, I totally get it. You spent heaps already. I just ask you guys to be conscious of food. It can be found in your cosmetics. It can even be found at your fish and chip shop under like the name Flake or Gummy. So just be mindful, it's got a lot of mercury in it. It's not too healthy for you anyway. Did you guys see these frames in the water today? Maybe if you were diving, yeah? So this is a part of the Coral Nurture program. So we are partnered with these guys to try and help restore the reef through a propagation thing. So what we do is we put coral fragments onto these frames because they provide a non-competitive environment for the coral to grow and thrive in. And these little clips hold that fragment onto the reef wall when we plant it back onto the reef. Yeah, so it kind of looks like this. We get a little nail, hammer it in, then we put that fragment underneath the nail, and it has a 75% success rate, which is very high compared to some other propagation tactics for coral. It's kind of like propagating a plant. You know how you cut up a plant and then you have 3 different plants? Yeah, very similar. But this process takes like a whole year. Yeah. So a little bit about Passions, if you didn't know, we are a locally owned and family run company. We kept our jobs during COVID, which was incredible. That is the end of the chat. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, but thank you very much. Thanks.